people where we can't use this nav data source because it's currently being used by another whatever. So I went back and kind of looked over some stuff, and there's a couple things we can do to hopefully prevent this from happening today. Now we're still going to have to use our separate data sources, right? Everything's fine on that. But what we're going to want to do just for today, while we're using our local database, is go into Excel and go into our options, into the advanced, and we're going to scroll down until we find this formulas, and we're going to disable the multi-threaded calculation if it's currently being used. So that's, if we open up Excel, go to options, advanced, and then I think it's about halfway down. Let's see, no, about 3/4 of the way down. If that's turned on, let's go ahead and turn that off for today. And this is just because we're using a local database on our computer.
Which box?
Enable multi-threaded calculation, right here. So if that's checked, go ahead and uncheck it.
I think my Excel is so old that it's only 2 calculations at once, or 1 calculation.
Maybe do 1 calculation at once. I don't know. What version of Excel?
I
I was gonna say.
I have Excel 95.
Yeah.
It still uses DOS.
Yeah. Sorry. Office 95.
The other thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the JET ribbon here, go to our data source settings, make sure we're on our JET training one. Choose the data source settings, and on the general tab, essentially when this opens up, make sure you're using the JET data grid down at the bottom as opposed to using the dynamic nav's classic client. Hopefully that should resolve that one issue where what we had to do was then close down Excel, start it back up, and then it worked perfectly fine. So, support team basically said that sometimes what happens is that classic client starts getting used in the drill down even though you haven't clicked on it, and so it thinks it's trying to access nav while it's not accessing nav.
Do the colors mean anything in the bottom when it says like you are licensed? Because like I've got a yellow. That's what I'm afraid of. Mine's like a yellow.
That's because
well,
mine's
it means
from the gave you the code to the door yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
So your
I shouldn't be here.
The yellow just means that it's a temporary license that's going to expire soon.
Okay.
I think everybody said it expires on the 30th, so we've got a little bit of time. Mine looks different because I'm using a separate license, but for the training license, I have to renew it every 6 months.
Gotcha.
And it ends at September, end of September. So once we've got that, hopefully that will resolve that issue. One last thing I did want to kind of show off, and I did some research and tried to find out on my own. Yesterday we talked about that whole about this page. Right? If I went into a sales order here, and I just grabbed one of these, right? We could look at it by doing help and about this page. We can say, hey, this is pulling from the sales header. It's a sales order. Here are the table fields that we're currently using, you know, and what they're called and the values that are in them. But down here is we wanted to see the sales line stuff. What I found is you actually have to click on one of the sales lines and then do the control. In mine, it's Control Windows Alt F1. And now I can see sales line. So by selecting any one of these values down here in the line and doing that kind of about this page using the keyboard shortcut, I'm now able to see the sales line and see all of the fields that are associated with that.
So will the drop down still work from doing that same thing if you go to the cell?
No, it's still, I had that
That's
one.
where we're having it.
Yeah. You can see it still goes to the sales header. So in order to get that line, you do have to use that hotkey. Why they did it, I don't know. I found all kinds of complaints of like, why would Microsoft do this, right? It used to be so easy. In fact, it used to be so easy that, you know, you would open this up in Nav, and this little question mark, I could click on this question mark. I'd get a little question mark with my mouse, and I could click on any one thing, and it would pull up, hey, that's pulling from this table. So it didn't matter where it was, I could just click on any one thing and say, oh, you're pulling, it's that field from this table. That was so much more convenient, and then for some reason, I think it was 2010, they changed it. and they made it this new about this page, which is far more difficult to play around with, right? So you just have to actually, double click, select down in here, and again for me it's Control, Windows Alt, F1 to avoid my hotkeys. But yeah, now I can see my sales line and I can see the fields in there.
I got it.
I thought there was another way you could do it, go to advanced, like if you were on the line, go back to the line, like a right click on there, maybe not right click.
On the other one, I saw it, and you have that
Maybe not right click, but that drop down, if you hit that,
advanced.
Advanced lookup.
no,
That's just going straight to the item, because this is, I have to choose an item.
nah.
That's what that advanced lookup is.
But
so.
no, if you go to advanced, go back to that. No, hit the drop down. Advanced.
Yeah, it's still taking me
It's still
to.
taking the same thing.
Yeah, it's still just taking me to the item list, so I can make a better decision which item it is. 'Cause right now I might not know the item number, even though I have that. Maybe I need something else.
Okay.
So yeah, really the only way is that hotkey when it comes to the line. So it is a little bit annoying. Just be aware of the fact that that exists. When you have, if you find any table where you go to help and it's about this page and you see something header, know that you're going to typically always find this line down here, and if you need to see that detail, highlight it there, do that hotkey, and I'll open that up for you. So I had to do some research. I actually pinged a couple other people back at the office and said, hey, you can find this, because Microsoft doesn't really tell you how to do it. It's people on the internet going, it's kind of convenient, why'd you take it away? So. Okay.
What did you say the hotkey was?
For me, it's Control Windows Alt F1. You might have Control Function Alt F1.
Shift control.
Ha! I have to do all 5.
Just 5 keys? It's so convenient, isn't it? Isn't that nice of Microsoft?
I have to have that function.
Yeah, that's, anytime we go to a client and they're using the old version of an app, I'm like, yes, this will make my life so much easier. Because I can just say, well, where are you going now? Here? Okay. Question mark? Nope, that's that field in that table. We're good. That did come in very handy because you can customize an app so much that one client I had, they kept track of not only the product they sold to their customers, but the customers that customer sold to. And they created a field on the sales card called Sell to Customer, which wasn't their customer, it was their customer's customer.
Yeah.
But the problem is in Nav there's a Sell to Customer field already. And so what they did is they said, well, we're never going to use this field, we're going to rename it. They changed it to Sell to Customer Number. So when I typed in, I'm like, oh, Sell to Customer Number, pull it up, and they're like, that's not the right customer. I'm like, here it is. And we go, and we look at the card, and we're like, that's wrong. What is going on? And so thankfully they were using an old version. Click, click. Oh, it's applies to document number. I'm like, okay. All right. So yesterday we finished up the end of the day talking about data dumps, right? We talked about our 2 types of dynamic lists, our summary lists and our data dumps. And the summary list we use to basically create a unique list of values from a non-unique field in a table. A list of customers from my customer ledger entry table, a list of items from my item ledger entry table, GL accounts from our GL account table. But we could go to a master table, right? Those are all entry level type of tables. Let's say I wanted to get a list of states where my customers are located. Right? I can have many customers in the same state. Do I really want to see Texas listed 42 times? No, I just want to see it one time. So in that case, we'd want to use a summary list against a master table because that's a non-unique field. Data dumps, on the other hand, what we wanted to do is actually just dump out the records of the table. We wanted to see every record that met our criteria. So we had 2 different examples. One where I went to the master table, we said, let's go to the customer table, and I want to see a list of my customers, in this case, who PS is responsible for. And so we bring back all those records from that table, and we just use our NF statements to call back to our key, and say I want this field, or I want this field, or I want this field. The nice thing with data dumps is all of our filtering is done on our replicator. In our summary list, we had to filter each of our questions, right? We had to say, okay, well, let's go back. I have a question here. Who of my customers purchased something from me in January 2009? So I get my unique list of customers who bought something from me in January 2009. I ask the next question. What is the name of this customer? I want to make sure that I'm filtering back at least one filter back to my replicator. Think of it as that train engine. You got to hook it up to the engine to make it go. I have another question. What is the sum of the amounts for this customer in January 2009? Right, if I left off any one of those filters, my question's completely different. Right, if I decided, well, I've got my customer number, but I leave off that posting date, what is the sum of the transactions for that customer for all time? Right, I'm not filtering it down to those dates. So kind of the rule of thumb is typically for our sums, our counts, and our count uniques, if we filter on our replicator, we're going to typically apply those same filters when we can to those data functions. Sum, count, count unique. Firsts, very rarely see that. We still need to call back here, but a first, right? The reason we wouldn't need to do a posting date on this customer, right? It doesn't matter when they purchase something from us. What's their name right now? Right? Maybe they changed their name, but we're not going to call them what we called them 5 years ago, right? If we're looking at records from 2009, are we going to really pull up their name from 2009, or are we going to pull up their name from right now? If I put their name from 2009 from 6 years ago, bet you most of the people in this office wouldn't know who that customer was because you weren't around. I don't know who that is. So you're going to use whatever their most recent name is. Same thing with like salespeople, right? People change their name, get married, divorced. They don't want to be called Prince anymore. Right? People change their name for whatever reason. And so we're going to call them whatever we call them now. So before we move on to sorting, we have one example we can do together, and then we've got our exercises. Right? And they're pretty painless, right? If we remember correctly, doing the data dumps was much easier. So I'm going to open up a new Excel file here. And we're going to start on page 327. So in the previous example, we created a list of credit memo records from the customer ledger entry table that are unpaid. So I'm going to, unfortunately I did not save that, so let's create our key. We'll just start from scratch. And for my key, I'm going to open up my NL. I'm going to choose rows for my replicator, for my what parameter. The table, well, we're going to go to our customer ledger entry table. And when we do a data dump, we leave that field parameter blank. That's what tells Jet we're doing a data dump. Right? If I put a field in there, I'm suddenly doing a summary list. Look at this field and bring me back a unique list. So by leaving it blank, Jet knows that it's a data dump. And we had a filter. We needed to say where the document type was credit memo. And we needed to have a non-zero remaining amount. So we'll do remaining amount with a $sign or LCY. And then we're going to do double quote, not equal to 0, double quote. Not equal to 0. Because if we paid it, we don't want to list it. So go ahead and hit OK. If you get your long string of values, we ended up with 3. Now remember, your first value here should be Jet training, but the rest of these should be the same. Okay. Everybody on board? Yes.
Just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
When you go to report from the design, it doesn't automatically refresh every time you filter between the two, not until you hit that refresh. So like if I made a change, I'm not going to have to wait for it to refresh when I just go back to report to see.
Right, if I make a change like right now
Yeah.
to this, No, if I hit report, yes, because then I'm changing the query. If I actually physically have changed this query, right, if I then say, oh, okay, well, in the,
I understand, but if I
Yeah.
just add a field,
if you add a field here,
or a calculation or something.
right, yeah, if I added something
Zero.
like this, you know, plus 8 or whatever it is, I'm getting a compound value. Yeah, this hasn't changed at all, that question is still exactly the same. So if I hit report, yeah, it's gonna pull from that local cache, and then it will do the new questions I've asked going to the database. But if I hit refresh, then yeah, it's gonna go out to the database.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
that's okay.
I just-
You're good? Okay. So let's add, we need to add the customer number, description, posting date, document number, and remaining amount. So let's go ahead, headers for those.
Remaining.